evening, and thanks for joining us. It's a case that boggles the mind. After serving years in prison for a murder he always said he didn't commit, today Ryan Ferguson enjoyed his first full day of freedom. How did this bright-eyed college student end up losing nearly a decade of his life behind bars? We tracked down a juror who voted to convict him, who now says he has a gut-wrenching message to share. Here's Nightline's Dan Abrams.
Today, for the first time in nearly a decade, Ryan Ferguson woke up a free man, having spent almost all of his 20s in prison for a crime he always maintained he did not commit.
Just hugged my fans, hung out with them for a while, and I knew that I wanted to go to my friend's steakhouse. So, steak and family, the second you get out, you can't beat that.
Ferguson was convicted for the brutal murder of beloved journalist Ken Heitholt in 2001. The crime scene outside the newspaper where he worked, littered with physical evidence, bloody footprints, fingerprints, and even hair. But none of it matched Ryan. So how did he end up behind bars in the first place? It certainly wasn't what Ryan told police when he was questioned.
I'm innocent. Because you're innocent of killing this guy. I'm innocent of even being there. I'm not involved in this in any way.
Again and again, he denied knowing anything about the murder.
That's exactly what I said to you earlier, man. I didn't like that. Try to get me to admit to something I didn't do.
Ryan spoke to us from prison shortly before his release.
You know, I did everything I could to help them. I have nothing to hide. I want to show them that, I got nothing to do with this. Look at the facts. Let me go. I got midterms to study for. It's not about fact or fiction. It's about developing a case against you.
The state calls Charles Erickson.
That case was built almost entirely on the testimony of two alleged eyewitnesses. Charles Erickson, a childhood friend of Ryan's, came forward 2 years after the murder, claiming he had dreamlike visions that he and Ryan committed the crime together. But he didn't seem to know many of the crucial details.
It's possible you may turn into something, is that right? Yeah. But you don't know what it was. Okay.
In his trial testimony, however, he seemed to remember everything.
He was down here and he had a belt, and he had his foot on his back, on the victim's back, and he was pulling up on the belt.
And a second witness, janitor Jerry Trump, identified Ferguson as one of two men he saw in the parking lot immediately after the murder.
Would you point to that individual or individuals, please?
Yes. It was enough for a jury to convict.
The jury finds that defendant Ryan William Ferguson guilty of murder in the second degree.
Tonight, we spoke by phone to a member of that jury who asked that we not show his picture or reveal his name. Why did the jury decide to convict Ryan Ferguson?
Probably for me, the two eyewitnesses, Erickson and Jerry Trump, hold a lot of weight in our minds.
Was it unanimous on the jury?
Pretty well, yes. Everybody had the same feeling that because of Mr. Erickson and Mr. Trump, that yes, he was guilty.
But it also turns out the prosecution withheld some crucial information. Ryan's new lawyer is Kathleen Zellner.
Would you state your full name for the record?
Brady versus Maryland.
Trump.
Like the circumstances surrounding janitor Jerry Trump's sudden ability to identify Ryan, and a conversation with Trump's wife that could have undermined his testimony. And then there was another janitor, who the defense team learned later said the two men at the scene were not Ryan Ferguson and Charles Erickson.
I said it wasn't him. I told my boyfriend, I told everybody I knew. That it wasn't them. Yeah.
And there were witnesses who could have backed up Ryan's account of when he left a bar that night as well.
There was a witness saw them right at this point here, saw them walk to the car, they waved, and then Ryan got the car, made an immediate left-hand turn, and proceeded to take Chuck home. I felt like nobody listened, for the most part, and I think that's the overwhelming feeling. You're just a pawn in the system.
Apparently Ryan's defense attorney didn't help matters either.
I believe if Ryan would have had a better trial lawyer, things might have been a little different. Mr. Rogers it was very hard to follow him. He was always fumbling around and just not very with it, I didn't think. My attorney, he really didn't do a lot of the things that he said he was going to do. He was not personable. He was very dry, and one literally fell asleep while he was talking. See how the jury is looking, and they're just not responsive.
Right before the jury rendered its verdict, were you confident that they were going to come back with a not guilty verdict?
I was not. I think, to a large degree, the jury, they really just wanted to be out of there. They wanted to be done with it. I think they were more concerned with the Cardinals' playoff games.
And then there was the kicker. In the years after that 2005 conviction, both of those crucial prosecution witnesses recanted their testimony. First, Erickson admitted to Ryan's attorney that he had not been truthful.
Things happened much differently than I had previously stated. I regret now that I put an innocent man through that. He didn't deserve it.
Ryan got a new hearing last year, and Erickson then admitted, under oath, that he lied.
I've lied to everybody.
And then the janitor, the only other eyewitness to implicate Ryan, took the stand and revealed that he too lied at the original trial. A convicted sex offender, Jerry Trump said police pressured him to implicate two young men from a photo.
I'd like to have forgiveness from Ryan.
Fuck you and your forgiveness.
Erickson and Trump at the hearing recant what they said during the trial. Upset, angry, relieved. I was certainly relieved. At the same time, I felt sorry for them and what they've been through, mostly because, based on the facts and the evidence as I've seen them, they were lied to, they were threatened, and they were manipulated into this position where they have actually destroyed another person's life. The prosecutor, in my humble opinion, took advantage of them. But I think it's prosecutor Crane's responsibility. He still won't admit to any action that he's done, and I don't think he ever will. And I can't respect that, and I will never forgive that.
But once it became clear there was no remaining evidence, Ryan Ferguson still wasn't released. Why? The new judge, Daniel Green, didn't believe Erickson's most recent account was credible enough to overturn the conviction. But even if Erickson was lying or wrong or dreaming again, Ryan's story never changed.
When I read the finding, I was shocked. Judge Green made a lot of very big mistakes, simple mistakes. And I looked at that and I said, my God.
There is no case in the United States where a person has remained incarcerated when the only two witnesses against them have recanted.
After a year and a half more behind bars, finally, last week, an appellate court overturned that ruling, finding, quote, newly discovered evidence clearly and convincingly establishes that he's actually innocent. And then the Missouri Attorney General's office announced it will not retry or pursue further action against Ryan Ferguson at this time. Meaning, Ryan Ferguson was a free man.
At this time.
Today, that
doesn't mean that they won't bring back charges.
What would you say to him?
I would apologize 1,000 times, and that still would not be enough. I thought about writing him or going to visit him, because I guess in the back of my mind I always thought maybe he was innocent.
Ryan, for his part, is just excited to move forward and make up for an awful lot of lost time.
I'm not certain what comes next. I've been preparing the past decade to live my life, and I'm going to take advantage of all opportunities that come my way, and if there aren't a whole lot of opportunities, I'll make my own. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be an interesting process. I got a lot of help and a lot of support, so it'll be good.
Our thanks to Dan for that report. Nightline reached out to the defense and prosecuting attorneys from the original trial, but got no response. Up next for us, the woman who became the face of the Obamacare website has remained anonymous until now.
They can't figure out how to prosecute them under perjury, under conspiracy, violating his rights under United States Code Title 18, 241, 242, which is $10,000 fine and 10 years in prison. They can't figure out how to do that. They can figure out how to take somebody on hardly any evidence whatsoever and put him in jail possibly for the rest of his life where there was no physical evidence or anything like that. Just lying witnesses. Nobody was given a lie detector test or anything like that. So I'm hoping that those people, if they got the guts, they will prosecute him. This was a clear violation. It's called Brady versus Maryland, where they withheld evidence. And I believe this is something to where the reason why, when Nightline confronted the prosecuting attorney and the cops, the reason why they didn't say anything, because they know whatever they say is going to be used against them. And I hope they are put in jail like them, just as much time as he did, if not a lot more. That's the reason why I created something called the Oath of Arrest and Prosecution. All you got to do is go to Google, type in the words PDF, Oath of Arrest and Prosecution, Poor Man's Bill of Rights that I created so that people would not be wrongfully jailed, which has been going on far too long. So anyway, I've been fighting for the rights of the accused for many, many years, and I have been pretty much ignored by people. But I look at it this way: it is my godly duty to keep on and never give up until my last heartbeat, my last breath in my body. I am not to give up in stopping people from being questionably wrongfully jailed.